Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric Maloney and today we're going to be breaking down my short film, Walk. Well, first of all, let me just say thank you all so much for being a part of this community and talking to me in the comments and just watching my content as well. It's amazing. We're at 240 subscribers, which is double from the last time I did one of these videos, my Canon R6 review, and again, it's just amazing. And especially, I know a lot of you all have watched Walk, because I think a lot of you kind of subscribed from that video. So thank you all so much for watching that video. It's at 13,000 views and 520 something likes. It's incredible. And so again, thank you all so much for that support. But yeah, let's dive into talking about Walk. And that video has become a really big milestone for me, because it just kind of further solidified that this is the avenue I want to go with my life. That filmmaking is where I want to end up. I want to be making feature films. Maybe not like Walk necessarily, that are very meditative and reflective. I mean, I definitely want my films, their messages to be somewhat reflective, but you know, in terms of the voiceover and stuff like that, maybe not all my films will include that. But no, it's a really special video to me, and so I really just wanted to talk about that and how I just made that film and how that might be able to help you in terms of the projects that you are creating. So let's talk about the planning process. And to be honest, there really was none. My planning process was, I just had an idea because I was going to be in my hometown in Connecticut for 4 weeks, and I really wanted to kind of create a highlight reel of different locations that meant a lot to me when I was living there, when I was in high school, middle school, and earlier. But yeah, and so I had that idea, and I also kind of combined it with a practice that I did in college, which was whenever I got stressed or I needed to think things over, or if I needed to just escape, I would go for a walk, whether on campus or to a local park, whatever it may be. And so I really wanted to do that. And so I also, another part of my kind of planning phase, so to speak, is music. Music is a really big facet of my storytelling. So I mean, I love listening to music, and music gives me ideas. It creates these visualizations in my head. I can almost kind of see a movie just in my mind. And so yeah, music is really important to me. And so I found the right song on Epidemic Sound, where I get my royalty-free music. And I just kind of started going. I went freestyle. I didn't do a storyboard. I didn't do a shot list or a screenplay. I just went completely freestyle with it. And so I really encourage freestyle filmmaking. I think it's really beneficial to filmmakers, especially when they're first starting out, because they can get creative with things. And so I'm not saying don't plan anything that you want to create. I think there are definitely times where planning is definitely needed. And so especially for projects that maybe you're getting paid for, like a wedding or a music video, or even if you're trying to create a short film that you want to get sent to a film festival. Those are projects that you definitely need to plan, where you need the shot list, the storyboard, the screenplay, all of that. But for something like this on YouTube that I was just making for fun and something that I can test my skills, then I thought freestyle filmmaking was the way to go. So I really enjoy freestyle filmmaking. I think more people should definitely try it out when they're starting out. But yeah, and then also another facet of the filmmaking was that I was going to film this completely solo. I mean, it was pandemic time, and I was back in my hometown, and some of my buddies either weren't there, or again, they're not necessarily the most interested in filmmaking, and so I decided to do this on my own. I think it was kind of a nice, kind of symbolic for the film in a way, that this was kind of my personal project, my personal journey creating this. And so that was kind of the planning stages of everything. That was kind of what got everything in line. But now we can talk about production. And production was pretty interesting. And so I can talk about that. And so I think most of the production is going to focus on limitations. And so the limitations of what I was given. And so I think first of all, we can talk about the limitations of time. And so 4 weeks is definitely enough time to put together a short film, especially if you have a crew. But when you're filming solo, it becomes a little more, there's a little bit more of a time commitment there. And so you really gotta kind of give it your all, and then you gotta make sure that you are accommodating for any kind of hiccups along the way. And so, I mean, filming solo, you really gotta make sure that you are cognizant of the area you're filming in, sounds, weather, all of that. And so you're pretty much playing the producer role during all of that, and being aware of what is around you, what is coming, and then if you need a permit, anything like that. I didn't need any permits because I was filming in public parks, but stuff that you need to be aware of if you are filming solo. And so that was the first limitation. And so also with just the 4-week time constraint, I was really kind of pushing it sometimes, especially if the weather didn't cooperate during a week and I couldn't film for 4 or 5 days just because it was raining. I was really kind of, I'm really big on continuity. I love, when shots line up perfectly, whether that's the sky looking right or the actor being in the right position. Right? I hate it in movies where, it's like they have like a conversation scene and, one actor's talking and then another actor talks back to them, and all of a sudden their head's in a different position. It bothers me, and and so it's kind of ironic because my favorite movie of all time is Jurassic Park, and it has one of the biggest continuity errors of all time, but I digress. But yeah, and so I'm really big on continuity, and so kind of playing that role, that kind of script supervisor in a way without a script, that was another thing I had to take on. And so I was really consistent with that, and I would lose my patience sometimes here and there. There are times where you're going to get frustrated because you're taking on so many roles, but if anything, again, it's only going to benefit you in the long run. But yeah, and then in terms of the limitations for the equipment I was using, of course, I was using the Canon T7i. It's mentioned in the title of the video, and so it's a great little camera, a great beginner camera, has good autofocus, I think the biggest limitation out of that camera, though, was the dynamic range. I talked about this in my Canon R6 review, that I love the dynamic range on the R6 because of the log profiles, but the T7i doesn't have that. And so, I was working in situations, especially on sunny days in the woods, where you run into some very contrasty environments. And so I had to work around that and try and find locations where I could get more diffused light. And so one example is when the character, or me, walks out of the woods into the field. And so I directed the camera towards me, but got the sun reflecting off the grass in the field, and so it created a really nice, pleasant, diffused light. And that's like one of my favorite shots in the entire movie because it really looks like it came out of a feature film. And so I really loved how the T7i looked in that, and I think I was able to kind of work around the limitations with that entirely. Another limitation based around the camera are the lenses I was using. And so, I had a good set of lenses. I had the Canon Nifty 50, the 50mm 1.8, and then I also had the Sigma 18-35 f1.8. And so, again, that's a good range of focal lengths, but also, you lose that necessarily telephoto kind of look, and I really do like the telephoto look. I love the crushed backgrounds, I love the bokeh, and so with the wider, kind of aspect, wider focal lengths, you may not get that. But with the 1.8 apertures, I was able to kind of play with that a little bit. And then also with I feel like with the idea of the film, of trying to capture the environment of my hometown, the wider focal lengths are actually more needed rather than a more telephoto look. Because though I wanted to isolate the subject, I did want to make sure that the subject felt like it belonged in the environment too. So yes, but I love these lenses. I do encourage that if you are starting out in filmmaking and you're looking for some really great lenses for video, the 50mm 1.8 and the Sigma 18-35, if you can swing it in terms of price, because it is a little more expensive, they're great lenses for you. But yeah, in terms of other limitations with equipment, it was also my tripod. And so it only went up to my chest in height. And so I really had to work around that. And so I would either have to film a lot of the kind of closer up shots at a lower angle pointing up, or I would have to get down to the level of the camera and actually kind of match the plane in a way. And so that would be how I would get kind of shots almost like this, where you're at head height or shoulder height. So yeah, and then if I wanted to get some further away shots, that would also help in terms of getting it more on kind of the shoulder head kind of plane too. So that was the limitation of the tripod. And the last aspect I really want to talk about production-wise is the audio. So audio I'm also really particular about. So continuity and audio are probably the two things I'm most particular about, as well as acting, but that's another thing. But yeah, so for the most part, recorded a lot of the sound on a shotgun mic, kind of like this. I use a Takstar for the for walk. This is my NTG that I bought more recently. But yeah. So audio I'm really particular about. So I mean, a lot of the audio was caught in camera that I used with the shotgun mic, a lot of the ambient audio, of course, but anything like footsteps or kind of more specific sounds, I would go out and kind of re-record it, kind of create it like a Foley art kind of atmosphere. And so that's what I would do with that. So yeah, so that was the audio process on that. And then in terms of the editing realm, I'm really not great at breaking down my editing process. I mean, it's nothing really special. I don't do any fancy edits. I just do, kind of just general cuts that you would see in a normal movie. No fancy transitions, no, masks that I would move forth, especially because I was filming solo, so I didn't really have anyone moving the camera. It was just kind of mounted steady. So yeah, and then just in terms of color grading, I mean, of course, you're not in a log profile, so you don't want to overdo the contrast. You don't want to overdo the saturation, all of that. So you really have to play within the limits of the camera there, of course. But yes, I mean, I really don't know how to break down the editing process any further. It was a pretty clean editing process, nothing too complex or nothing crazy to dive into overall on that. But that is the breakdown of Walk. Yeah, this is a really fun time to kind of just break down that film, reflect on a previous film that I've made, and I hope to do this more with future projects as well. I hope to create, again, more content like this, talking to you all and engaging with you all. So if you like this kind of content, please give us a thumbs up or comment down below. And then again, also commenting down below, I'd love to check out your work as well. So let me know what you're working on. I'd love to see it. So yeah, thank you all again for watching. Again, I hope to create something more like this sometime soon, but until then, I'll see you around, keep creating, and have fun.